Hi everyone, welcome to Henry's English channel. In this video I'm going to be giving you some English reading tips. Now please watch the video right through to the end, otherwise you won't get the full benefit of the video. I'll be giving you some tasks at the end that you can do in order to increase your reading ability. So this paragraph that we're going to analyse is taken from the website breakingnewsenglish.com. Now I highly recommend that you use breakingnewsenglish.com to improve your reading ability. The person who produces this website puts out an article every 2 or 3 days, and it's on a current theme, on a current global topic. And the articles have text that is suited to different reading abilities. So it's the same text but of different reading abilities. So you can choose the text that you want to read depending on your ability. So what we're going to do is we're going to analyse the text 2 different ways. Now with this video I want to emphasise reading texts and paragraphs in a visual manner. When we are taught, even as native speakers, to read, we are taught to read the words individually and think of the words in our heads, like a voice in the head. But as you progress with reading, you should be able to change to a visual way, which is being able to see a whole sentence and understand it visually, like a painting. Then when you get better at it, you can even see paragraphs and even whole pages of text in a visual sense. You might not see all the details, but you'll have a basic understanding of the text without actually having to go into all the details. So what we're doing here is encouraging that visual side. It's very useful for visual learners, and these practices, I've used them with students in the past and they've helped improve their reading ability a lot. So the first method is to analyse the subjects and verbs and decide if the sentences are simple, compound, complex or compound complex sentences. Now I'm just reading the definitions here. So a simple sentence has one independent clause. For example, if I say to you, Lucy eats breakfast every day, that is an independent clause. It stands on its own. Now, if I say to you, eats breakfast every day, it's not an independent clause. It's missing information. We need a subject there. We're missing Lucy or another subject. So that's a simple sentence. Now, a compound sentence has 2 independent clauses. For example, I have a brother and I have a sister. So I have a brother is independent, I have a sister is independent, joined by a conjunction, and. Now you wouldn't normally say that. You would normally just say, I have a brother and a sister. And that is actually a simple sentence. A complex sentence is an independent clause joined by one or more dependent clauses. For example, I love the book that I bought yesterday. So that has 2 clauses. I love the book. That is an independent clause. And that I bought yesterday. That I bought yesterday is dependent. It doesn't really make full sense unless I join it with something else. So independent and dependent, that is a complex sentence. And finally we have compound complex sentences, which have 2 independent clauses and at least 1 dependent clause. Now I'll give an example of that when I go through the paragraph. So Let's have a look at this paragraph, and what we're going to do is we're going to identify all the subjects and verbs in the paragraph. So I'll be underlining all the subjects and verbs. So what I'll do is I'll let you pause the video and you can go through this paragraph and underline all the subjects and verbs, and then we'll have a discussion. So please pause now. Okay, so let's have a look. We've got here a scientist is a subject, and thinks is the verb that goes with the subjects. And we is a subject, and love is the verb that goes with the subject. Now, I'm not going to underline anything here, and I'll tell you why in a moment. So we've got here, in our teenage years, this is a time phrase. We is a subject. Make is the verb. And then we've got da 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 da. And we, subject. And start is the verb. And then finally we have old people is the subject. And recount is the verb. So going back to the first sentence, we've actually got here a dependent clause and an independent clause. So this is actually a complex sentence. Now, you might think, wait, we've got here a scientist thinks. That's not really independent. Actually, it is. I think, you think, a scientist thinks. It's not very informative, but it's still an independent clause. This part here, we still love songs we heard when we were teenagers. Now, actually, this is a bit of a trick question. So, yeah, on its own like this, it is independent. But really, we should be putting, a scientist thinks that we still love songs we heard when we were teenagers. So that, when I put the word that, and often in modern English we don't use the word that in this context. So when I put that in there, it becomes dependent. So this is a complex sentence. Now, why didn't I underline any of this stuff? Because this can be looked at as one large noun. So I could say, a scientist thinks that we still love songs. But if I think of this as one noun, a group noun, a scientist thinks we still love songs we heard when we were teenagers. So it's a group noun. It's the object, actually, of the sentence. So this one here is a complex sentence, and that was actually a bit of a tricky question, that one. Let's go down here. In our teenage years, this is a time phrase, so we don't need anything here. We make many big life-changing decisions. Another group noun. Many big life-changing decisions. And we start long-term relationships. So often if you have this and, you'll encounter another independent clause, and then that might be compound. And in this case, we have a compound sentence. So in our teenage years, we make many big life-changing decisions and we start long-term relationships. Now I could make that into a compound complex sentence by adding something. So in our teenage years, we make many big life-changing decisions and we start long-term relationships that have a big effect on us. So that last part, that have a big effect on us, that is a dependent clause. So we now have two independent clauses and a dependent clause, and then we have a compound complex sentence. And finally we have old people, the subject. Happily is an adverb. Recount. Recount means to talk about something from the past. Stories from long ago, another group noun. So this, what do you think? This is a simple sentence. So we had examples of each of the types of sentence here. So that's one way of analysing it. Now I'm going to quickly erase these lines. Okay. So we're going to analyse this paragraph a different way now. We're going to look at nouns, pronouns, proper nouns, and yes, no. We're going to circle each of those with red. We're going to circle verbs with orange. We're going to circle adjectives with green. And we're going to circle prepositions with blue and articles with red. We're going to underline. And we're going to underline adverbs with orange. And we're going to underline conjunctions with green. So let's do this. So if you want to do this, you can use your own colour coding system. It might be better if you use mine for this, but in the future, please feel free to use your own colour codes for either of these methods. So I recommend that you pause the video now and complete this exercise, and then I will go through the answers. So the answers are, we have here a, which is an article, so we underline with red. Scientist is a noun, so we circle with red. Thinks is a verb, so we circle with orange. We is a pronoun, so we circle with red. Still is an adverb, so we underline with orange. Love is a verb, so we circle with orange. So I'm actually going to break this video up. I will finish this off now and you can have a look at the complete answers.